Hello, good evening. This is Carolina, your Spanish interpreter.
Call this meeting to order. Newburgh School Public Schools Board Agenda, March 14th, 2023. Call this meeting to order, and the first thing we do is the flag salute from Director DeHart. United States of America. To the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Director DeHart. First, for the review of the agenda, we will approve minutes from our last board meeting. We'll have public forum. We have a few speakers, not too many tonight. We do have somebody that's going to do a double speak on an error that happened before. So that's the reason I'll get to speak 2 times in a row. We will have the consent agenda, board action items, which include board goals, math adoption postponement, the sale building contract award, reports and presentations and discussion items, the SAIA, the word language adoption, WSD membership, the academic and board calendars, and budget review. After that, board and superintendent comments, and then we'll get into future agenda items, which will include academic calendar approval at the next meeting, the board calendar approval, and the world language adoption at that next board meeting. So we have different presenters tonight, so we'll move right through this. So the first thing we got is the approval of minutes.
I move that the Newburgh School Board approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Carries 6-0.
Chair Brown,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make an adjustment to the agenda before you move on.
Please.
We'd like to remove policy JFCF as a second reading. We need to make some further corrections or edits on that policy. So I want to table that policy for tonight.
All right. Scott, do we need to vote on that?
From a legality standpoint, I think we just need a board member to request the withdrawal of that from the consent agenda, and I'll make that request. That's
Okay,
fine.
thank you. Or you want to do that now?
I just did.
You just did. Oh, I like you, Brian. Hey, before we go, though, I want to jump back really quick. Jonathan Rapp, Joshua Howery, Nathaniel Nomain, and Grayley Sanders were under the leadership of Joel Tanner, a longtime NHS band director out there. And those are the ones that were playing the music when you all walked in. So I think we should give them a round of applause. That's fun. I hope that happens more. That was great. So with that said, we'll go into public forum. Please let people speak. It doesn't matter what how you feel about what somebody's saying. Please give them the freedom to say what they're going to say with no comments from the audience or in here. They have 2 minutes to say what they want to say. Hopefully it stays within the language boundaries of what's good for schools. So we will move forward with that. And so first up, we have Judy Tokstad.
First here. Okay, but make sure I get every second of that. Okay, my name is Judy, pronouns she, her. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I would like to comment on 2 policies that have come up in recent meetings. The first policy is our current parents' rights policy, KAB. The current policy allows parents to inspect instructional material used by the district and permits parents to excuse their student from covered activities. I'm confused on your decision to create a Bill of Rights. Is this a proposed change to the current policy, or are you writing a bill? It would be helpful to have transparency around the goal, the end goal, before starting the work. Please consider more communication on the policy. And then policy JFCF, harassment, intimidation, bullying, menacing, cyberbullying, dating violence, and domestic violence. During the policy meeting on 2/21, the committee removed protections under the definition of teen dating violence. It has been reduced to physical violence or the threat of physical violence. I would like the board to consider the implications of this change, as science will tell you violence is both physical and psychological. Sometimes violence is threatening conduct that lacks physical violence. Examples include, but are not limited to, telling you that you are the reason they are abusive, threatening to harm you, or threatening to commit suicide, threatening to expose your secrets or your private photos. Keeping psychological or emotional violence in the definition of dating violence will encourage healthy dating and potentially keep our students safe. Please reconsider your decision for the safety of our children, who, despite the unprofessional giggles, eye roll, and let's go Brandon comment from the non-political board, they need your support. Thank you. Hi, is this on? Okay, talking fast, sorry. My name's Elaine Katskela, and I want to spend a minute introducing myself. I moved to Newburgh in 1986 to attend college at George Fox. I knew my grandparents, both long gone, had lived in Newburgh, but I didn't know how until I got here how deep their roots went and how many relatives I had here. I fell in love with this place, and I fell in love with my Quaker heritage, and I experienced a deep sense of belonging and a sense of coming home. It's what I want for everybody. I learned that my grandmother, Lola Haworth, had been a principal of the long boarded up Springbrook School and was a friend of Mabel Rush, contemporary. You can imagine my thrill when my career path took me to education. My faith tells me to stand at the margins, the edges of places where people are easily despised and unseen. This is where Jesus stood, intent on widening the circle. It's a story much too long to tell, but I found a place where my particular skills and passions could be used as a vocation at Catalyst. I was not at Catalyst that long, but I was at Catalyst and had been with the district for about 14 years when there was a major political shift, landscape shifted under our feet. A new political ideology came about with President Trump, mostly associated with Republicans and Christians, but definitely not all of them. I'll call it MAGA ideology. The ideology seems to be driven by strong boundaries, resentment, and fear. You are either with me or you're against me. Loyalty is important. No bridge building that was seen as weak. No widening the circle, just circle the wagons, tightening it and thickening boundaries. And into this came 2 board members and then 2 more. And then, are we up? We up on time? No, okay. I just want to end by saying, I will end this by saying, there's a strong sense of in and out. And, oh, that was my timer. I had a complaint to the board. It feels to me like if you're not on the in group, it doesn't matter. Your complaint doesn't matter. You did give permission to the HR director to meet with me. And on the 17th, I got a reply that all comments are important and that you do want to hear from me, which was 3 minutes after or 3 days after my last board comment didn't make it to you. So here's my last board comment that I sent in on my birthday from Florida. Please start now. I am concerned about the unintended consequences of extreme partisanship in our community. Since Dr. Joe Morlock was fired, the Newburgh School District has lost a high number of workers and a great deal of families in the district, including LGBTQ plus people and people of color. However, everyone is in pain, from Christian middle-class students to those without a network of friends. Numerous pupils no longer receive the services they need because there aren't people there to do it. And it appears that significant program cuts are coming, from what I can tell. The focus that the current school board is placing on advancing a national political agenda has sharply divided our compassionate community. This national political agenda has smeared words like equity, and Ty Smith, the lawyer you hired, who gleefully brags about it to political groups. And however, equity is simply removing barriers. It has a definition, in our case, learning when it is in our power to do so. Providing a different kind of reading instruction to a child with dyslexia is equity. It's not equality. It's not the same. It's equity. Making sure a student is fed, knows they belong, they are valuable, they have special instructions needed to read or to do math is not giving students an unfair advantage, nor is it hurting other students, i.e. Christians or gifted students. Yet currently, too many of our students and families have received the messages that you don't belong unless you fit within our boundaries that have happened. While you can claim your actions were to keep politics out of education, the opposite has happened. You are pursuing a national political agenda that has little to do with Newburgh. You hired a political activist as attorney, and you plan to write a parents' rights in education bill, which is a national movement. While I'm all for parents' rights in education, I believe we already have them. And this is just another national political movement that sets us up for more lawsuits. Who will stand up for the teachers and staff who do not fit your religious or political views, your ideology? Who will stand up for those who have been forced out of the district? I am. That's why I left the district.
Thank you. Next up, we have Brandon Casey. You have one to read.
Okay, so my name is Brandon Casey. All of you are welcome to say, "Let's go, Brandon," because that's my name. Secondly, while I wouldn't in a million years try to compare myself to Jesus, I would, however, say this. I mean, you guys must be doing a great job, because all of the people, the two people that have come up here haven't had anything negative to say about academics or anything that involves education. Everything that they talk about are these. I mean, one of them is a made up word, equity. Not even a defined word. They just made it up. Okay. I mean, this is a simple. I mean, the fact that we have to even come to school board meetings to hear this and then defend it is almost uncomprehendable to me. Speaking of all the people that everybody left, all the people that left in terms of the school district left in a coordinated effort to try to sabotage the school district. These were the same people who 2 years ago told us how we needed to protect all kids, we needed to protect them all. And then they turn around and try to sabotage the school district, by all quitting at the same time, and then come in here and talk about how many people have quit and left the school district, without people and all this other nonsense. I mean, the simple fact is this. I mean, we just want our kids to go to school. This is ridiculous. We don't want our kids to come here, which is, I think, why we're doing the Bill of Rights, because we don't want our kids to come here and be indoctrinated with beliefs that you can pick and choose. If you're born a male, you can just kind of pick and choose. If you want to be a female, maybe you want to be a two-spirited penguin, maybe you want to be an elephant one day, right? I mean, that has nothing to do with school. We want our kids to come to school and learn, right? And from everything that I've seen from a learning and academic standpoint, and from how schools are ran, schools run much better now than they did a year and a half ago. Am I out of time? Okay. Well, thank you all for what you do. We really appreciate it. Like the majority of the community.
Okay, that's it for live comments. We have an email that was written in, and Dr. Phillips is going to read that.
All right. This is from Jer Weatherspoon. On February 21st, 2023, the policy group convened. They were scheduled to talk about policy changes as noted in the agenda. In attendance at this meeting, Renee Powell, Brian Shannon, Trevor DeHart, and Scott Lindenberger. During this conversation, the members of the policy committee asked Scott Lindenberger if they were able to alter the language of the Oregon administrative rules and Oregon revised statutes in order to accommodate updates to policies in the school system. According to the agenda, the policies being reviewed were GBN/JBA for staff sexual harassment, JBA/GBN student for sexual harassment, JFCF hazing, harassment, intimidation, bullying, menacing, cyberbullying, teen dating violence, domestic violence, and student. ACB, all students belong. KAB, parental rights, and KABAR, parental rights. Director Shannon is obviously not a fan of the language used to describe hazing as the committee considers the different policies. You can find this information in the board packet on the schedule district website. Quote, I feel like the hazing definition is a little too broad for my comfort, like pranks, ? Obviously, 90% of this is good, but also hazing isn't really a thing in the elementary and high school in my experience. It's more of a college thing, states Director Shannon. On September 7th, 2022, Dr. Carissa Niehoff, Chief Executive Officer of the National Federation of State High School Associations, called for an end to hazing as related to high school sports and other extracurricular school activities. Was it?
Okay, got that. Thank you for everybody that spoke, and thank you for the comments coming in. Appreciate that. Thank you for the audience for letting everybody have their time to speak. And so we'll move on. We're going to go to number 6 is the consent agenda. First thing on that is something that happens every year at this time, and that is staff renewals. So before I turn it over to Mr. Lindberger, the staff renewal is a time where all of our employees that are whatever stage, there's multiple stages of teaching. They're in different stages of administrative or whatever. We have a long list here. This is when it gets approved by the board that their contracts are renewed for probationary 1 year, 2 year, so on. And so there's way too many to read. This is almost our entire district office, our district staff for the entire town. So there are people in here that have been here a long time. There are people that are brand new. So I'm just going to ask for a motion that we pass this and go with it.
Yeah, I'll move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as presented.
Point of order, it needs to be as amended because we removed. So
Move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as
amended.
Not modified.
Second. All right, all those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. That may sound like a quick vote, but that's a lot of people that are coming back next year because of that vote right there. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We'll move on. Scott Lindberger is going to be talking about the second reading and the policies update real quick.
Unless you have questions on policies, GBN, JBA or JBA, GBN. You've had opportunity to review. You've had them for a couple of weeks now. I haven't seen any questions.
Didn't we just pass the consent agenda and aren't these part of the consent agenda?
They are.
Yeah, so we already passed this. Didn't we?
Yeah. Scott, you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you've got it covered like a blanket.
You're good to go. All right. Again, our policies are our rules, kind of the laws the school district abide by. A lot of times now with the way things go, we'll be reviewing a lot of our policies and they'll have to, go through legal muster and that kind of stuff. So it'll, a lot of it's words. Some of them have been updated recently. Some have been quite a while. So board action items moving down. The first one is board goals. And so I'm going to have Shelley and Trevor help me on this one here. And we've got board goals that we've been working on all year long. Dr. Phillips is going to speak on that in a moment too. But Director DeHart, do you want to start on that one?
Or about the first one, that's going to be Dr. Steve. Yeah.
Yeah. Just open with the fundamentally the main goal. And I'll just go ahead and read this. All students deserve our best effort each day. All students deserve respect, high expectations, and our commitment to their well-being. Our parents and guardians and community members deserve transparency, accountability, and a commitment to high standards. As the Newburgh-Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors, this is our commitment to you. 1, to increase academic achievement, a focused and unapologetic commitment to the fundamental core subjects. We will ensure that all our students receive reading, writing, and mathematics instruction that results in academic competence and literacy. Student academic growth will be the focus of our efforts. We will monitor the progress of this goal through student voice, statewide assessments, and locally proctored assessments. Then follows board priorities, which are a number of priorities which then support the main goal. So the main goal is students and student achievement, fundamentally the core education.
And I'll read the first one. There's several. A, provide safe, optimal learning environment.
So some of the work that we've done with that is a couple months ago, we did a symposium at the high school. There's a fentanyl symposium. We had about 80 people there discussing. We had local police department there. We had Yamhill County Health Services there. We had a local gentleman that runs a homeless shelter there, and it was great. And we're also having a bullying symposium and a substance abuse symposium between now and when school ends this school year. Also with the bond, new entrances for most of our schools for school safety. We've got an SRO. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. And student behavior is something we've heard a lot about. It is a concern. Since COVID, student behavior has gotten more difficult for our staff and to handle. So that is something we've heard loud and clear and something they're going to work on.
Okay, the next one would be encourage parental and community involvement.
So where we're at on that is well, me personally, I'll meet with anybody and everybody that wants to talk. I've yet to turn somebody down to talk, and I really enjoy it. But we've also done empathy interviews, student and family surveys. We've got a stronger presence on Facebook and social media. The videos that B&B, Bridge and Bolster, have done for us, they've been great. And the district website, the new and improved district website, we'll have a soft opening for that in early April, and then it should be fully launched in early May.
C, quality educators.
We are actively working to support our teachers and staff in the district. Next year, we will be rolling out the Danielson framework, which is a evaluation framework that really supports our staff. Something we worked closely with our unions with that really lays out all of the areas of not only evaluation, but support for students. So it really vertically aligns all of our instruction within the district. In addition to that, we're excited to share later on this evening, we are reestablishing our mentorship program for new staff in the district. So that's something that we're really excited. We will be utilizing our own highly qualified teachers to support new teachers and any teacher who might need some additional coaching or mentorship within the district, as well as launching our math leadership teams and our language arts leadership team that's continuing from last year. So really focusing on our own highly qualified educators that we have here in the district and being able to share their wealth of expertise with new teachers and our teachers that are currently in the district. And the last little bit is partnering with our local colleges on grow your own programs and being able to work with our high school students and our classified staff to support them in developing their roles in education here in the district.
Okay, the next one, D, manage budget efficiently. Effectively.
So the board has been getting monthly financial reports that come from our accounting software to ensure that the information is accurate and aligns with where our general ledger is. The board has been asking great questions that focus on broadening their understanding of finance related items and the budget process. And we'll just continue to build on that through this next budget season, starting with some training for you and moving into hopefully a better understanding of how the K-12 budgets work.
All right, E, properly manage the bond.
I guess I'll take that one too. So in order to properly manage the bond, we have enlisted the help of Cornerstone. And they are a company that comes in and they manage the expenditures, make sure that all of the contractors are in line, and make sure that we're sticking within our budget, because the amount of bond money and the number of projects that are going on right now are enough for a full-time person. So we have Cornerstone in, they're doing a great job. At any time I can ask them where we're at for expenditures or where we're at as far as how much projects are left. And they're very open and communicate very well, have great information, and they're able to provide it at a moment's notice. So they're doing a fabulous job of managing the bond and being able to give reports and updates either through our weekly newsletters that go out to the community, but also coming in and updating the board on the progress of those.
Next one, F, support extracurricular activities.
Yeah, so for a 6A school, a lot of activities. At the high school, we have over 25 student clubs, which is quite a few, and we have over 25 athletic programs. That's a lot. And in the fine arts, just quickly, a little taste of what our fine arts offers was before the board meeting today with Joel Tanner and his students. So we have a lot of great programs. Students get a lot of support in athletics and clubs and fine arts, etc.
G, provide safe, reliable transportation system.
Well, this one we've really been working on. As everybody knows, we had a 5-year contract with STA, didn't quite work out. We got First Student to come back and help. We had another RFP. First Student was chosen. And so we will have First Student and solely First Student helping us out for transportation starting July 1.
And H, support career technical education and vocational training.
Well, the bond was a big help with that. We have 9 programs of study in this district, from ag welding to health services to theater. We have 9 of them. And so the bond is paying for the new building. There'll be 3 of those programs housed in the brand new building. And then the majority of the rest of those programs are going to receive a remodel this summer. And so almost every one of our CT programs will get a facelift or a brand new space for next school year. And that's coming from the bond. It's a really big deal. It's a commitment that this community's made, and obviously the board's made, and pretty happy about it.
You want to take that last one?
And so, yeah, the last one is just the metrics. The metrics that we're going to using primarily are going to be based on the big benchmark levels at the state, which are grades 3, 8, and 11 in math and English language arts. So those would be the big years that we're focusing on for our student performance.
Great. Thank you very much. So our next one is math adoption, and Jillian, you're on.
Mr. Chair, quick
Yeah.
point. Were we going to vote to adopt the board goals? 'Cause I believe there was a
Yeah, we
motion
got
on the
the-
bottom.
Oh,
of it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools Board Goals as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. We got one person out there happy. Now, Jillian, you are on.
Thank you. The Teaching and Learning Department is here this evening seeking approval from the board to postpone our math adoption. For our Division 22 standards and requirements, the state has scheduled the math adoption for this year, and we are seeking a 1-year extension. Across the state, many districts are also seeking this extension. With the new latest revision of the Common Core standards in math, there are some pretty large shifts at the secondary level, and a lot of the curriculum that is currently available for math doesn't yet reflect those shifts. So we are actually currently engaging, as I mentioned previously, in a math leadership team, focusing on professional development for instructional routines in math to align all of our math instruction and support those best practices for the new standards. And then next spring, we would like to do the pilot with adoption early January so that the materials are ready to go for the following school year in the fall. So we are seeking that postponement so we can spend some time doing professional development on the standards and really being sure that we're selecting a curriculum that matches the update to the standards.
Any board comments back? Questions?
Are there any repercussions on delaying this? And I guess my other question is, why didn't the state, given the mandates that they came down with, postpone it themselves?
I can't speak to why ODE it is on they have a cycle that they go through. And so they have specific year, every 7 years you do an adoption. So I can't speak to that part. But there is no, I guess maybe one repercussion would be we are going to continue utilizing the current curriculum that we have at all of our grade levels. Which is something that has been in use in the last couple of years. I think if we adopt a curriculum now that's not yet aligned to the new standards, we have 7 years of curriculum that's not aligned to the standards, and then we're supplementing and modifying, and that really becomes tedious for our teachers in terms of their time, and then also difficult to guarantee students are getting the same experience across the district if we're modifying curriculum.
I'll move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve to postpone the math curriculum adoption as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Thanks, Jillian. Okay, next up, we've got to have Larry Hampton. I think is going to come up here and talk to us a little bit about the sale building contract award. Thanks, Larry, for coming.
Good evening. The sale program, hopefully most of you are familiar with the program itself. It serves young people that have been in special ed services and have kind of aged out of the high school. So they've hit 18 and so they're done with the high school program, but they're still eligible for services and a lot of it's kind of life skill training, helping them learn more independent life skills until they're 21. And the program has been housed in a few different places. Actually, it started in this house next door that we're going to remodel. And many years ago, it outgrew that. And so we did a remodel of Building K at the high school, and they were there for several years. And then with the plans for the health center, they got bumped out of that. And the plan was to, again, create a long-term home for them and to come back here. There's some advantages for them to not be on the high school campus. Part of that is even just from their standpoint, some of them kind of have the feeling of, well, I'm done with high school. I graduated, I want to be I don't want to be considered a high school student anymore. And so anyway, there's a lot of reasons why, looking at this house next door. So the plan has been to remodel it. Unfortunately, through all this process, we've had a hard time finding a contractor. We started out trying to find a kind of a home builder contractor to work on it because it's more of a home right now anyway, and felt like that would be more economical in the process. Found that there weren't people interested in doing that work for us. And some of it is too, with the bond, there's a lot of requirements for prevailing wage and other kinds of things that the contractors have to do. And a lot of the home builders are not necessarily set up to do that kind of thing. The other thing is our realization was too, that we're really, yes, we're remodeling and adding on to what's been a house, but we're really making a commercial building, and it's going to have commercial finishes. It's going to be changed a great deal from just being a house. So anyway, we've invited some of the contractors that have been on some of our other jobs to take a look at it. And we did have 2 companies that bid, and we are recommending accepting the bid from 5 Star. Again, that's a little more than we wanted to spend initially, but feel like this is a good long-term investment in this program. Unfortunately, they've been bounced around for the last couple of years, and we'd really like to get them a nice home. The other kind of side benefit that we've realized is, being right here next door, the program only goes during the school year, but that'll be a facility that will be useful for the district to use for trainings or other kinds of meetings throughout the summer, because it'll be set up for, kind of a classroom, meeting room area with the kitchen and nice restrooms and all that. So it can serve this program well, but also serve in other ways too. So that's hopefully a quick rundown. If you have any other questions, I'll try and answer them.
Larry, could you quickly, maybe for the audience, just tell them what the SAIL program is? Do you mind doing that? Do you want Dr. Phillips to do it?
And I will not remember what SAIL stands for, SAIL. But again, it is, like I said, for those young people that have aged out. They're 18 to 21 and still eligible for services. Like I said, most of them are just needing help in learning. There's all kinds of life skills. They're learning how to make their food, how to take care of themselves. They're taken out on field trips to town. They learn how to shop. They learn, job skills and all kinds of things. So there's definitely classroom component, but also those kind of real world experiences too.
Just so everybody knows, this is a great program. It's needed big time. It's super important. So gotten a chance to be around that and help out. It's really rewarding to go to, they have their own graduation and all kinds of stuff they do. It's pretty special. It's really special for those kids and their parents. So Larry, thank you.
Could you speak to the scope of the work, the project?
Yeah, that basically, the house that's there is going to be completely gutted, and there's going to be a fairly large addition put onto it as well. So not quite doubling it, but close. So completely reconfiguring things inside. The garage, garage door will be removed. The floor will be raised up. There'll be office space in there. The what's currently kind of the living room kitchen will be remodeled. There'll be, again, bath, and again, this program, sometimes there's students in wheelchairs or other kinds of where they need, definitely space in the restroom as well. So some nice new restrooms for that. There's a kind of a learning center area, fairly large kind of classroom space that's next to a nice big kitchen, but also has a folding wall, so that can be closed off. So there could be some working in there and others with teaching. There's a lot of site work actually. There's a big tree there that's been breaking up the concrete, the sidewalk and everything, all that has to be taken out, redone. There's a new covered learning area in the back, and sidewalks that connect to all of that, again because of just mobility issues and all that. So there'll be some new parking out front. It's going to be set up for a small bus to come and drop kids off and that kind of thing too. So that's kind of the one thing that we just replaced the roof a few years ago. So we're not redoing the roof, but siding, and it's got old rotting T111 siding and stuff. So it'll, pretty much down to the studs and build it back.
And how many students will the facility be capable of supporting, and how many students are currently in the SAIL program, if you know that?
It should be able to handle at least 20, I would think. I think at this point, and we've had quite a range. I thought my understanding was around 10 or so at this time, but yeah, it varies from year to year.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
And what's I guess for the audience, I've already looked at the stuff, but for the audience, can you let them know what the winning bid, what the cost is for everything?
It's and I don't have the exact, I think it was 1.1 something million.
Right, so-
Yeah.
so-
Yes. And as I said, that was more than we'd hoped. But in the end, again, I think we talked about it some and just because we also talked about, do we just get some modulars made or something to put them somewhere? But this is going to be not a temporary, this is going to be a nice long-term spot for them and really dedicated to that. So felt like, okay, this is a good investment.
And so I guess one more question, Larry.
Yeah.
So when up to this point, who did you work with, or what groups, what stakeholders were brought together to define what the needs are and what would be done to the existing location, and how does that affect, I guess, transportation of the individuals they needed,
Sure.
like that?
Yeah, we went, we worked with the staff of the program initially, starting at least 2 years ago, to kind of define because knowing that the health center work was going to be done, we knew that they were going, we knew that they were going to be moved out of there. And the place we moved them to for the next year was in Building J, that we knew was going to be torn down. So, we knew that we had a couple of years, but that we were going to need a new home for them. So we had worked with them extensively to identify just what their needs were, what their dreams were too, and we tried to kind of blend those, not, we can't provide all the dreams, but try and, give them a space that would really meet the needs anyway, and for a longer term. So again, that process had happened a couple of years ago. And then we had, working with Cornerstone again, had an architect take those ideas and look at this house and then figure out, how that space and adding on to it on that lot could be used to get them what they wanted to have. Again, busing wise, it's mostly they would use the small buses and it can either, pull in and drop off. There will be at least one handicap parking place there, but also there's space on the street to drop students off as well. Mhm.
All right, looking for a motion.
I just, so I'm a little torn on this one because it's $1.2 million. And I know when we're on this board, it's really easy to spend $1.2 million, but we're spending $1.2 million to give a nicer building to a program that's currently supporting 10 kids. And is that the best use of this money? Could you or Dr. Phillips or even Scott, could one of you make the case to me that this is a wise use of our money?
Well, when the number was presented to me, I actually said the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is, yeah, Larry was there. I was like, this is tough. But then I thought about those kids, and they're our neediest kids. And I feel good about it. I feel good about those kids and those families really knowing that their kids are being taken care of and that we are training those young adults, that we're training them up so hopefully for some independence. Could we do it in a less expensive spot? I suppose. I mean, believe me, I thought, man, for 1.2 million, let's just go buy a house. Well, that's not in the bond. We can't buy a house with the bond money. So yeah, it's a lot. There's no doubt about it, but I feel good about since it's going to these kids. They're special.
And again, I'm sorry, just from my standpoint too, like I said, if it was just about 10 kids right now, I'm not sure, that is a good sell. To me, again, like I said, it's an investment for a long time for all the students that are going to be coming through this program for a long time. And again, providing for them something good, something that they can be excited about and proud of as well. And so, yeah, again, if we would have been doing this, if the bond would have been passed 5 years ago, probably the price would not be as high too. I mean, that's the reality. A few of us attended the groundbreaking for Lutheran Family Services program that's using our portables over here. They're going to spend 1.4 million or more on remodeling portables. It's kind of stupid how much things cost right now, but that's the life that we're in, and that's what, everything has cost more. Fortunately, we got more in the bond than we, with the premium and everything, we were able to get more than we had even, set out to do. But yeah, it's just a crazy time to be doing work because it is so expensive. But this is part of our commitment to provide this program and stuff. Yeah. No, I absolutely understand your concern about it. Yeah.
So Larry, can you tell us how many square feet the final renovated property will be?
It was close to
It
4,000.
was around 4,000, I think.
Okay.
4,000 square feet of interior and then also some exterior spaces.
And then I guess my last request from you is maybe explain to the audience prevailing wage and
Sure.
I guess how much increase in costs
Sure.
are associated with prevailing wage.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, with bond projects and with public entities, when you're spending over a certain amount, and Heather knows better than I do what those amounts are, I'm sure, but there are requirements about having to pay prevailing wage and for those, and there's even different levels of prevailing wage, I think, within that. But it kind of equates to what the kind of union shop price would be, and I think I mean, I don't know the origin of that requirement. I think probably it's trying to level the playing field. So anybody, any company can have, a chance to, if they can deal with the budget or the books of that, can have a shot at it where, it's not just a smaller company that doesn't pay very much or whatever, it levels that playing field for public kinds of work. And now I lost if there's a second part of the question. I'm
sorry. I guess just if you have a ballpark, how much does this increase a project like that?
I mean, in some cases, it probably, probably at least by a third.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess what I'm getting at is, for people who aren't familiar with this, they're thinking, well, what's the median price of a house like this?
Yes.
Can we go out and we already own the lot,
right?
We already own the bones of what exists there. So I think it's important that people are able to wrap we explain things so they can wrap their heads.
No, that's great.
What the increase cost is.
The other thing is that house has it has no HVAC system. All it has are cadet heaters in rooms. So again, we're not even just kind of upgrading some of those things. I mean, those it's all going out, and there will be new systems that'll have heating and cooling and all that we would expect in any of our facilities too. So yeah, it's there's, and like I said, and Casey kind of had said this, we are building a commercial building. We're doing commercial finishes in it. They do cost more. It costs significantly more to build a commercial building than it does to build a house too. And so that's part of it. Yeah.
I do just want to say, it does seem like we could teach these life skills to the students when they're still in high school and not have to spend all this extra money teaching it after they've graduated. But that's my final remark on this subject.
Yeah, I think, Brian, I think it's seeing these kids 10 years out, after I saw them in high school, and then you see them for, 3 years through that program. I think sometimes in education, this is my feeling, you can't put the dollar value on this one. To see these kids when they're 10 years out, their parents are getting older, and they're going to get to a point where we have some communities in our town now where I've seen some of these kids live independently in their 30s, and they can do it. It's tough on the families. It's tough on those kids. I just think, why did we build a high school like we built in 1965? I mean, who approved that thing? It was a Southern California thing with terrible idea, and the roof still leaks at the high school, and it's not Larry's fault. This is one of those things where, for me, I'm with Steve. I think it's just seeing where these kids are at, well past high school, well past 21. It's important that they know that Newburgh did the best we could, because we have a shelf life too, where we can impact kids. Most of the time it's 18. This time we get a chance to go a little bit longer. Those families though, talked to quite a few of them. Men are so thankful. They have that support and that help. I don't know what a lot of them would have done without it, honestly. And there are different levels and needs for sure. So that's just my take.
Well, and the other part is, and I don't know all the details, but this is not, I don't know that it's a mandated program, but there is, we do have an obligation to serve this group of people. It isn't just a choice. We're not just being kind-hearted and providing for these students. This is a requirement for these students with these issues to have services up through their 21. So, again, it's not just that we're being really nice and, spending this money. I mean, we need a program for it. It is something we're required to provide those services. We don't have to provide it in that building, but we have to provide those services.
So are these all special needs children?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And more profoundly needy. Yeah. It's not just students that needed help on tests or with their homework. I mean, these are students that, in fact, many of them will live in group homes. They'll live in other kinds of assisted living situations for the rest of their life if they're not living with their family, but trying to give them as much independence as they can get.
Yeah, they need more of that long-term
Mhm.
training and help than just what they're getting in schools. And it does seem really high, of
Mhm.
course, I'm married to a builder,
Mhm.
and I'm like, holy cow, that's a lot for a remodel
Yeah.
on a house.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I do kind of question the price on that, because I'm like, it just seems high, but I don't know. Do you have do you provide breakdowns of did they give, I'm sure they gave you a bid.
Yeah, I mean, the price, they're required to basically give us a bid, and then they have to show kind of their biggest subcontractors under them for, and what that cost is. Well, and I could tell you, actually, we first talked to Skanska, who's working on Edwards, because they're close. When we first couldn't find a local builder or somebody, a home builder that would work on it, we talked to Skanska, which is even a bigger, huge company. Their price was like double this. And we said, oh, no, we're not doing that. And so we kind of stepped back and relooked at it, and then ended up, talking to some of the little bit smaller companies that we're dealing with and that still had the capability to do it. And we got 2 bids. Again, when we open these bids, I'm always hopeful. You pull this thing out and you look at that number and you know what the kind of what you were hoping for in your head. And the first one was 1.4 million. I hope this one's better, and it was a little better. It
Yeah.
wasn't as good as we would have liked.
Yeah,
And they're
and-
going to be starting it.
Soon, we already have building permits in hand.
Okay.
And that's, again, part of the deal is it's taken so long to get to this point. We really want them to be able to start as soon as possible
Mhm.
on it. So
And
that,
when are
because
they
the
gonna-
goal would be to be available for next fall.
Okay.
Yeah, and just as someone who's been following the cost of real estate in this area, and also the commercial is more expensive. That
Yeah.
for a 4,000-foot facility, that doesn't sound out of line at all for just what I've been following recently. And also, if it's special needs kids, it's probably a lot of extra, handicapped, and that's a whole nother level. So
Right.
it seems, I agree that, we need to look at it carefully, but I think that seems realistic.
If we didn't pass this tonight, where would the program be?
We'd have to go back to the drawing board as far as trying to figure out what are our other options. Like I said, there was some talk of, can you get modular buildings built that can just be brought in? We don't have a place for them, though. Where would we put them? And that, we'd have to get that figured out. The city would have to agree with where we wanted to go and all that. So, and there's no guarantee that will be significantly cheaper as well. Because
All right, you guys, I think we're
talking
at that point where we've asked a lot of questions. It's we're gonna have to get to a vote here, but the thing about it is Larry, you've done a great job on the bond, so thank you. Overall, we've saved money in other areas, and some areas are gonna be more expensive. So we have that to fall back on too. But we do have a lot of other stuff to get done tonight. So if there are no other further questions, I'd like to take it to a vote. Motion first, though.
I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the small construction project contract for the sale, building addition and improvements with contractor 5 Stars Builders, Inc. as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Larry. Some are harder than others. Some are harder than others. Those are all good questions, though. They are good discussion. So next up, Jillian's back on with her staff of Holly Meal and Brittany Morales. And you got some presentations for us.
I do. Thank you. Our technology director is going to queue up our slides here for our audience and at-home viewers on the board. While we're getting that going, our presentation tonight is for our integrated application. So this is covering multiple programs. It's not just SIA. I just wanted to make sure that we start with that. We have a link to our entire application and the entire budget on our website at www.newburgh.k12.or.us/district/student-investment-account-plan-SIA. Just want to make sure everybody got that. Everything is available online. The application itself is due to ODE on March 31st, and we are looking to seek board approval this evening, along with taking community public comment. Public comment will also be open until March 28th before we finalize any application and submit it to ODE. So as Dave mentioned, I'm here tonight with my colleagues Holly and Brittany, and we will be discussing our integrated plan application. So the purpose of our meeting again this evening is to go over the presentation, talk a little bit about the background and context of our plan, the planning team, the input and data that was collected, the overview, and then our next steps.
And to review some of the purpose of our presentation tonight, we want to explain how this plan was developed. And it's important to note that this is actually a continuation of a plan that Jillian had presented in the fall. So we're here seeking additional feedback from tonight.
So to give a little overview of where we've been, our SIA and high school success grants have been running for multiple years. ODE has tried to condense, collapse, integrate the process to one big plan instead of having multiple plans for several grants. So basically, we've had all of these grants. They're not new, but they've all had their own application process, their own data collection, their own reporting and monitoring. And so ODE has taken all of these grants and put them together into one big process called integrated planning. And so now there's one plan that supports all of the grants instead of multiple little plans. So this planning started back last year, spring 2022, we began our plan and have been working through that and are currently now at the presentation of it. Again, this is due to ODE March 31st. It's important to note that this plan is different in the past in that we're planning for 4 years of activities, whereas in the past, the plans were 2 years. So the new cycle will be 4 years of planning with 2 years of budgeting so that there's that overlap of having a 4-year plan and then every 2 years you're doing the budget for those plans. So a little bit different than what was in the past. Next slide. So on our background, the integrated plan is, again, like I said, responsive. ODE is working on creating a simplified process. They worked with educational leaders and state legislatures to come up with this process. One of the biggest factors for us in the process is collapsing all of the 6 programs into one big plan that supports our continuous improvement plan, our school improvement goals, seeking our community engagement, which we're really going to be working on improving from an engagement that might be survey-based or feedback that is once a year, one way. We're seeking input, and then we're going to take your input and do something. And in this case, we're really focusing on a cycle of engagement where we're going to seek input, execute, report back as to how the data has worked, how our plan is being effective, and then making adjustments as we go along. So kind of approaching community engagement in a fashion that's different from what has been in the past. And then again, budgeting for those 6 programs for 2 years with a 4-year plan of activities and strategies. This large integrated planning process is supposed to reduce the burden and redundancy in all of the different grants and hopefully free up some more time so that we can be in schools and have more community engagement and less grant paperwork.
Hopefully this graphic helps everyone to see the braiding of the different programs that we have. So high school success and the student investment account, as well as the very bottom, you'll see the early indicator and intervention systems. These are the grants that we then budget and target our investments out of. And you'll see that that's why we're referring to those 3, but it's actually 6 different programs that work together for the common goals of bridging the needs and the areas of improvement in our district for all of our students. If you are confused of what any of these different buckets are, this is just a further explanation. And like I said, the high school success, the student investment account, and the early indicator and intervention systems are the ones that we're really reporting on.
With all that to be said, it's really important to know who the individuals are who are on this planning team and putting in this work. Of course, we have our superintendent, Dr. Stephen Phillips. You have the teaching and learning department here tonight. We have our director, Jillian. And myself and Holly Mealy are the teaching and learning coordinators. And probably the most important person on this list is our business and finance director, Heather Bixby. And we also spend a lot of time communicating with our secondary principals, Tammy Arian and Chris Stevens. What's also not noted on here is the number of meetings we have with specialists in the buildings, teachers, other department heads. We are constantly gathering data and working with a lot of individuals. And so this is our main team of planning.
Okay, so you can tell another graphic for you guys to see that we have required processes for this planning of how to create our integrated plan. We had to use an equity lens. We had to involve community engagement. We did not have to worry about the tribal consultation. It doesn't apply to our district. We had to have a comprehensive needs assessment. We had to consider the Oregon Quality Education Model and student success plans. We had to review and use our regional CTE consortia, which is why those 3 programs I didn't mention, those are covered by our regional CTE consortia, and continue on through the other things that you see there, the development of our 4-year plan with clear outcomes, strategies, and activities.
So as Holly mentioned, part of the requirement for this grant application is to review our data and our activities to remove barriers for our students in the classrooms. So we utilized the Oregon Education Equity Lens and included these 8 questions when we were examining our data in terms of what's working and what's not working for our students and families in our community, along with our staff members, in terms of making investment decisions and allocating resources.
Okay, so where our engagement highlights come from is both seeking deep qualitative data as well as district-wide quantitative data. Back in January, we held student focal group meetings with over 40 students that represented some of our key student groups on campus that tend to not be represented well. So we invited GSA, theater, MECHA, and our CTE leaders to come together into a meeting, which was kind of an unusual grouping of students, but for a purpose. Our CTE students haven't had a building this year, and so really didn't get to have their full course load that they were hoping for. And it was great to get their feedback and looking ahead. And our GSA, theater, and MECHA students tend to not have as much voice in our student leadership group like our ASB. And so this was a direct way to get qualitative data from them. So what we did was gather them together over 2 different lunches and have them provide feedback on 4 essential questions. All that feedback was collected and they did a gallery walk. And then what was really powerful was having them as different members of different groups problem solve and discuss together the trends and the things that they saw as important to all of them and things that matter to all of them. That was fantastic data engagement. We had district-wide empathy interviews that ranged from students, parents, staff members, community members, another deep dive into qualitative data and very representational of staff across our district, students across our district, and parents across our district. Some of the more simpler avenues throughout the year have been climate and culture surveys, as well as our Youth Truth Survey. The power of the Youth Truth Survey is that it is a national survey, so we can compare data points at our local level with not only this state, but also national groups. Thank you so much. We also have building specific climate and culture surveys that would never really dive into the things that we know are not an issue, but just things happening within our buildings. We have ongoing parent group meetings like our dual language nights, Hispanic parent nights, and our special education parent advisory group. All of these are very, very intentional meeting points and ongoing throughout the year. At the beginning of the year, we had open house listening sessions. And we're going to continue all of these different data pathways in the next coming years. So this is not a one and done. This is continuous data collection, both qualitative and quantitative at the national level, at the local level, with the focal groups that we know we need to hear from the most. And if you're wondering why those groups, it's because they're the groups that we're seeing not represented well in terms of success in assessments and in other areas like daily attendance in our our building. So they're the groups that we really need to target to figure out what is at work and what are the things that we need to think about to get them to school every day and to meet their needs as students. If you have really good eyeballs, you will see the rainbow colored graphic at the bottom. And right now, if you looked at what a 3 is versus a 5 is deferring, where we have parent engagement groups, student engagement groups making decisions in our district. And ODE would love to see us move towards that blue. Right now, most of our engagement is sitting at a 3 or a 4. So the great news is that we have multiple ways to collect data, and again, qualitative and quantitative ways, but we would love to see that shifting over to the blue.
So now we're going to walk you through a little bit of our needs assessment highlights.
Okay, so from all that data collection, we noticed that graduation rates are directly connected to overall attendance rates. So we want to support student engagement in school, that in turn, because they're engaged, because they feel a part of what's going on in our school buildings, attend school as much as they possibly can, and that will lead to improved graduation rates. We also noted that so many students involved in CTE love that programming, and it tends to, that engagement piece, keep them in our buildings at the high school level. We want to improve our student achievement in literacy and math, and make students feel that they are absolutely able to succeed in those 2 core areas. We also want to create access to additional support based on specific student skill need within the core, and in addition, add access to interventions that are built into their school day. And lastly, we want to foster positive student behavior and academic engagement to provide those safe learning spaces and environment with exceptionally high expectations for student behavior and social interactions.
So now we're going to get to our plan itself. The next few slides are pretty meaty, but we wanted to make sure that we captured everything in our plan for you. I'm going to summarize them and not read them verbatim. So just kind of walk you through the slides. Up at the top, the bold language is the outcome of each of our strategies. So what we've got on each slide is the bold part is the outcomes that we are hoping to see, and the bullet points are the strategies that we will implement to meet those outcomes. So improving overall student attendance will increase above 95% for all demographic groups within our district. Continuing to invest in and support increased student self-regulation and mental health services. This is something that was funded in our prior grant for SIA and will continue to be funded in this one, along with our access to drug and alcohol counselors, mental health specialists, and then our school counselors. Also working on supporting dropout prevention efforts at the middle school and high school through improved climate and culture work, developing those high interest classes that Holly mentioned, and those CTE and dual credit options to engage students in attendance and graduation, and then really focusing on supporting student wraparound services through our school-based health center. And then our next outcome is increasing our overall graduation rate to 95% for all demographic groups. So really looking at our student behavior, we know that that is a concern for our staff and our families in the community, and looking through our SIA plan, continuing to fund our school counselors and behavior support programs, providing professional development to staff to support student behavior that they might be experiencing in the classroom. Continuing to provide support in our summer school programs and intervention programs in the core areas, ensuring that students have access to those career pathways, and providing the after-school credit recovery and dropout prevention supports to ensure on-time graduation for students.
Some of those key classes are those CTE classes. And if you don't know what CTE stands for, it's Career and Tech Education. Many of these courses offer certifications that students can get to make them career ready at graduation, as well as dual credit options. It also requires us to build those valuable community partnerships with different business owners so that students can obtain internship hours or even working hours, which count towards credit. And it just provides that career and college readiness that students need, that hands-on learning and practical application of the skills that they're learning, as well as just getting ready for employment opportunities right at graduation.
All right, our next one is to improve student performance and access to academic support in core math coursework as measured by the SBAC or state testing from 38.8% to 90%. This is a good time for a reminder that we have 4 years to accomplish this goal. We feel really confident that we are going to improve our SBAC scores. We've put in a lot of work, and the strategies we're going to use to reach that goal is to provide coordinated K-12 support to improve math achievement. And we have an excellent group of math leaders in our math leadership team. We want to establish a district-wide math intervention that is probably the most important strategy we have to accomplishing that goal. And we're going to provide professional development for our teachers. Just like Jillian had mentioned earlier, we have some new math standards we're working with. We want to get our teachers ready to go in their classrooms and create a district-wide system for formative and summative assessments, and establish a guaranteed and viable curriculum that will be applied to all students in every school. You're going to notice our next goal has to do with literacy, improve student performance and access to academic support in core literacy coursework as measured by the SBAC or state testing from 50.5% to 90%. We feel really proud of the work we have done in literacy in this district, so we're going to continue to refine and develop our district-wide literacy intervention. We're going to continue to provide high quality professional development for our teachers, and we're going to refine and improve our district-wide system for assessments when it comes to literacy. And again, continue to support our curriculum that recently adopted.
So one of another key parts of our plans is just to reduce our student to staff ratio across all of our district programming. What this really translates, I think this is just creating additional supports for our students and having more one-on-one time, especially when it comes to interventions. This is really also supporting the work of our EAs who are invaluable in our classrooms. And in order to also reduce the number of students to staff ratio is to recruit, hire, and retain our highly qualified teachers. We have excellent teachers in our district, and we want to keep them here.
Our next outcome is to create a robust and sustainable teaching and learning environment for all staff and students. So being able to have that additional support and coordination of federal and state programs that are working and braided together and not working in isolation of each other, to provide a well-rounded experience for our students, to provide the leadership and oversight to ensure that those programs are implemented as designed, that instructional improvement and professional development are accessible to both staff and students, and that we are supporting our most at-risk students in our alternative high school and in our high school. And again, I just want to reiterate what Brittany has said. I know that some of our goals are lofty, but we've also had high achievement in the past. And we believe that implementing these strategies will bring us back to high achievement that we've had. We have a great group of professional educators and educational assistants in our district, and we have bright students. And putting into place these strategies, having the outcomes and being able to progress monitor how we're doing is going to be critical to make those goals that we believe we can meet in 4 years. So moving into the investments itself, we've talked about the outcomes and the strategies, but what are we actually spending the money on? So up here, this is our SIA grant. You can see the grant funds amounts in the box to the right. So our first year, it's $3,419,000, $657.40. The second year increases a little bit, and we are continuing all of the investments that we've had in the past. So continuing to provide mental health, drug, alcohol, and school counselors, our district TOSAs, our English language development specialists who are providing co-taught education, alternative high school support staff, which includes both licensed staff and classified staff, special education specialists, our literacy specialists, educational assistants for both special education and English language development, as well as administrative support. In addition, we will be increasing our SROs, and what's new this year is a mentorship program, which is really going to help make the changes that we're suggesting through our strategies sustainable, so that we stop the cycle of having a big boom year of funding and then the funding goes away and we don't have a plan in place. So everything that we're doing with our grant work is something that we're embedding into how we provide instruction and support students, so that regardless of the funding, it's sustainable in the future. Our next grant is our High School Success Grant. This supports our 8th grade dropout prevention, credit recovery for our high school students, our career technical education staff and programs, access to dual credit programs for college credit, supporting our at-risk students at Catalyst, post-secondary success for students at the high school, after-school academic support and intervention at the high school, our summer school program for our high school, supporting the climate and culture at the high school and Catalyst, as well as our school-based health center. And then our last grant is the early indicator and intervention systems. This grant is very small. It's $12,000, and we are looking at utilizing this grant to support some of our software for data collection. It's not a grant that we currently have in place, and so it will help support some of the funds that we're already using to be freed up to complete even more activities. And again, the link to this entire plan with the questions and narratives along with the budget can be found on our district website. Okay, so the tiered approach. This is a second part of our plan. So if the state has found that it has more funding for us, we have to identify what are our next steps. So in addition to everything we've already mentioned, what are we going to do if there happens to be more money available and allocated to Newburgh Public Schools? So what we're intending on doing is supporting the programs we already have in place. So increasing the FTE of our school counselors, our educational assistant, and some of our other staffing. So not necessarily adding new activities, but increasing how many people we have employed within those activities. Then making additional investments in our CTE equipment, access to reading and math interventions, and professional development are just some of the options should the district receive more money than what's been articulated.
So how the state understands success, I think that this graph is really helpful to understand that numbers drive their understanding of success. What you see is with the dotted line, the state average, which is just maintaining a particular level of proficiency on our state assessment scores. We are very fortunate at Newburgh Public Schools because both in math and in ELA, we are ahead of the state average. And so for the state, they're seen in the purple line that you see, and especially that blue line that says gap closing targets. They have a robust upward trajectory, and we are following that. We have the fortune of starting with, especially prior to COVID, percentages that were up in the 60s. And so we were our expectation with our interventions in place and these strategic investments that we just mentioned, we are going to see that same kind of upward growth for all of our student populations, and we're going to hone in on whatever it takes to close the gap for those groups in our district that have been struggling. I just want to make everybody aware that we understand the bubble of COVID when it comes to assessments and students being ready for state assessments for the last few years. And we are setting those lofty goals within 5 years of being at 90% because we were already on that trajectory prior to this massive upheaval, which was COVID. So we're excited to see all of the work that we're doing and strategically identifying to come to fruition in that data. But how we understand success in this district, numbers are important, but we want to see that we have well-regulated kids in our buildings that enjoy learning in our buildings. We want to support teachers that enjoy their profession and flourish here. We want to have aligned programs that support students from the very earliest ages all the way until graduating from high school, depending on the need that they have and where they're at in any of our disciplines. And we want to continue continue to build an engaging environment for any and all students to be at school every day possible. Attendance matters, and to graduate on time. That's how we see success. We do know, in bold at the bottom, that if all of these things were to be happening, a natural byproduct of this is that students' assessment scores will go up. They will be here, they will get the instruction and the supports they need, and they'll want to be here too.
So we're back to what happens next. So where we are now is our application window is open. ODE released the application March 1st and it's due March 31st. After March 31st, ODE will begin its review and reach out to the district with questions. Once applications are reviewed, they will be set for approval hopefully by June. And then we'll have all of those plans then in place for the following school year. So now we're at a point where we're going to be taking public comments and board comments on the SIA High School Success and Early Intervention Indicator Systems and the other 3 programs. The public comment is real-time public comment open during our public meeting and after the presentation of the plan. I also want to draw your attention to the public comment that will be able to be received through electronic public comment with enough time for the public to have seen the plan and the presentation prior to finalizing the application. So we're taking electronic public comment through March 28th. If you would like to submit an electronic public comment, please email integratedplanning@newburgh.k12.or.us. All of the public comments will be taken into consideration for our plan and will be analyzed and considered before the finalization of the plan that's due March 31st. However, we will be seeking board approval for the plan as it stands now this evening. And I just want to reiterate, everything that we've discussed is a continuation of the plans that have been already occurring for the past several years, with the addition of our mentorship program and the expansion of some of the positions and CTE programs. And so a lot of our grant funding is in staff. So there's not a lot of changes here because it's our teachers in the classrooms. So again, 2 ways to public comment, here live tonight and electronically through March 28th.
Well, I'll
Go
make
ahead.
a Quick comment. You ladies did an awesome job. You really knew your stuff and this is exciting. I like the stretch goals. It's expands on conversations I've had with our other leadership. And I think we can achieve it. I think if we do everything that we're talking here and do it well, hire the right people, I think that that's a very achievable goal. And we should set high goals in a time when it seems like the state wants to lower them. I think we need to set the bar high for our people and equip them and encourage them to achieve those goals. So kudos to all 3 of you for this plan. I guess my question would be this, public comment through March 28th, you're wanting us to approve the plan tonight as is. What happens between now and then if something needs to be changed? And you got to turn it in on the 31st.
So anything in terms of changes, the big parts that need board approval are the outcomes. So those items that we had in bold at the top of the slides and the strategies. Activities, if they align with the strategies and the outcomes, have the flexibility of having some wiggle room in transition for some adaptation if there's an adaptation needed. But the strategies themselves, so what we're going to do and the outcomes, what we're expecting to produce, those are concrete and need board approval. So I guess if there's public comment about the outcomes themselves and then any of the strategies, that would be an area where we would need to revisit discussing the board approval.
I did have one, I'll probably have more than one question, but this one specific, you had a slide up there talking about the EIIS, which was 13 million per year.
12,000.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
It was a very small grant. I wish it was 13 million.
I was like, wow, 13 million for software. Okay. Okay, then never mind. Then my other question would be this, right? There's a lot of moving parts here, a lot of hiring, filling positions. I'm big on measuring things, so how are you gonna measure if we're achieving our goals, you know, continuously, and how often should we expect to have presentations, and what metrics are you using and stuff like that?
So each of the outcomes has a progress monitoring tool built in with it to ensure that we are monitoring that progress to make sure we're on track to achieve those goals. I think in terms of the frequency of presentation, it can be as frequent as you'd love to see us. I think that being able to meet again in the fall to touch base and show that we're on track. Also to articulate whether or not we received more funds than what's currently anticipated would be great. And then I think having those benchmarks of kind of like we do with our benchmark assessment of fall, winter, and spring, having those 3 updates each year, and then having that ongoing community engagement and cycles of feedback and then showing the community, here's where we're at in terms of meeting these outcomes will be an important cycle for us. So it's really not a one and done process. It's ongoing.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure if there's anybody in the audience that wants to say something, now's the time. Yeah, come on up.
Thanks. I'm not sure if you can answer some of these. I know, sorry if I missed it, just a lot of it, the slides, but on the additional SROs, can you speak more to what that would look like with funding? I know some districts, they're a little bit more. And then I know some districts are talking about with levies paying for like 100% of an SRO or part of an SRO, and what that might look like, and how many, and what the partnership with the police department looks like. Thanks.
So if you can, during my board comments, during my superintendent comments, I'm going to address that.
Perfect.
If
Even
you're okay
better.
with that.
Thank you so much.
I don't know the exact phraseology that you all use, so I'm gonna probably butcher that, but I just want to applaud kind of the rejection of the false dichotomy that you hear just all over the place sometimes, that, well, to raise reading and math scores, we have to sacrifice other classes, other programs. I think you're dead on in terms of feeling that often those enrichment classes are what keep kids in school, motivate them to come, keep them from dropping out. But I think also studies show again and again that students that are involved in art, play a sport, are involved in band, do better in math and read. They do better academically in all kinds of ways. So not just kids that are in danger of dropping out, but all students. So I that was one of many strategies that you had, but I thought that was a great one, and I'm really glad to see it there.
Okay, anyone else? Going, gone. Oh, nope. Oh, we got one more.
I just want to say thank you so much for all of your hard work. I really appreciate the focus of keeping kids in the school, getting the attendance up. I do believe that will make a big difference for raising our goals that you guys have. And I'm really excited about the future of what you guys are doing. So thank you so much for all your hard work.
I'm only going to give you 2 this time. Going, gone. All right. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome.
Any more board comments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, we don't have anything in our packet. So what does the motion need to be?
To approve the consolidated plan?
Integrated plan.
Integrated plan.
I'll move that we approve the integrated SIA plan as presented.
So I want to, sorry to interrupt. It's not just the SIA grant. It also includes the other 5 programs. So we're just calling this integrated plan. Thank you.
You second it.
I second.
All right, we have a motion second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Carry 6-0. Jillian, that was easy. And everybody said education is.
I have a good team.
Yeah.
And Jillian, I'm sorry, we can get a copy of this at that website that you put on the board? Okay.
Our slides are not yet on the website, but the plan, which is about a 30-page narrative with questions and answers, along with the budget template, and all of the itemized items on those activities are available on the website.
But what, the PowerPoint's not, that you just presented?
We can add the PowerPoint to the website.
Thank you. It's an excellent PowerPoint, so that'd be great.
Big break. We're going to take a 3-minute break right now. 3-minute break. So Jillian, Holly, and Brittany, I think you have one more thing for us, right?
So the world language adoption is currently in progress. We're actually reducing the number of language instruction options at the high school to just Spanish and French. Both our French instructor and all of our Spanish instructors are going to pilot the options that they like best to confirm their choices. They spent an entire day vetting through the curriculum options. They had over 5 for Spanish and just a few for French because we only pulled the curriculum that exceeded the standards for the state of Oregon. So those were their only options. They're very excited and they'll be doing those pilots next week and the week after spring break. And during those 2 weeks, we'll have the materials here for parent and public review so that we can do those things and then hopefully get board approval the next time we see you. Any questions?
Anything else there?
That's it.
Good to go?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
We appreciate you guys coming in tonight. Thank you very much. I think for the audience, Holly and Jillian and Brittany are part of Dr. Phillips' staff to increase the rigor in Newburgh schools. And you know, there's a lot of work to do. It's not easy. I think you can tell by how many slides they have, just how hard it really is. So thank you very much for putting all that work together. Thank you. Now they want to go home. It's, they've had a 14-hour day.
Thank you.
Next up, Dr. Phillips.
All right, this one's quick. Willamette ESD, a number of years ago. I don't know exactly why, but a number of years ago, the school district decided to opt out of Willamette ESD. I think it was financial. We have an opportunity to opt back into Willamette ESD without paying any more money. But what this gives us the right to do is have a vote on their local service plan. Currently we have no vote. And if we opt back in without paying any more money, but if we opt back in, we will then have a vote on their plan and what services they offer us. It was something offered to our chair and I by Superintendent Dave Novotny about a month ago, and just need your blessing to opt back in to the ESD. So we're a voting member.
So right now, I guess, explain how that works. I guess I thought we were members of WESD.
Yeah, I thought so too. We're members of the ESD, but we're not a voting member. We opted out. We gave up that right a number of years ago. And so I would like to have that back. I would like to be able to vote and give some feedback to what ESD offers us.
So how many years ago was that we were taken out, or?
I think it was around 10. I'm not positive, but it was a while ago.
I wonder why we were out.
And in spite of that, Dr. Novotny still came, gave us 6 months of not charging us a dime for his services as acting intern superintendent with his staff. They still did all that just because of the quality and integrity of people they are. So.
Well, it does sound like we are paying them money every year. But to be
Yes,
fair,
but in a different
so
way.
that helps. But no, if we're not paying anymore and we're not gaining any sort of obligations or anything other than our ability to vote, I don't see why we wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it was actually when he presented to Chair Brown and I used to be an ESD superintendent, and so I have a little different maybe knowledge base on what ESDs are, and Dr. Novotny thought that us having a vote would be of value to the entire region because of my experience.
You need a motion?
Please.
I move that we opt in to the WESD membership.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you much. Next, 23-24 academic and board calendars. We did create 4 different calendars. We presented those calendars to our administrators. We also presented those calendars to the unions. And we've heard back. We're making sure that the calendar that we've chosen is, I guess, mathematically sound. Make sure it has the right contract days and all that stuff. But we're pretty close to be able to presenting that to you. So we plan on presenting that to the board April 11th. So all today is just an update that we're close. We plan on giving that to you April 11th. We'll also give you the board calendar for 23-24. You currently meet twice a month. That's unique. There's probably only about 5% of the school districts in the state of Oregon that meet twice a month. So that maybe something you could work on. But anyway, we'll present that as well.
Just to be clear, you're saying that other boards meet less often than we do.
Yeah, the vast majority of the boards in the state of Oregon meet once a month.
Interesting.
They range from an hour and a half to 5 hours, right? But they meet, the vast majority meet once a month.
And we get more done in our meetings than they do. So
That's right.
we're doing like 4 times as much work.
Yeah, some days. So anyway, that's something, as a board, you can definitely talk about and figure out if you want to keep the 2, which is great. If you want to go to a 1, it's great too.
And the 1 would be more of a, say, on paper, 6 to 7:30, regular session, and then say a 7:35 to 9:05 work session, something like that, once a month. And there's always the ability to call a special meeting if needed.
So would you like me to prepare 2 calendars for board meetings? A calendar that shows 1 a month and a calendar that continues with the precedented 2 a month? What would you? Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, no worries. I can prepare 2 board calendars and 1 of the other. All right.
Okay. We're at budget review with Heather Bixby.
So I think part of this budget review is also supposed to be your financial report. So that is in your board packet, just like it is every month. This is a report out of our computer system that shows you expenditures and shows you kind of where we were budgeted, what we spent year to date, what kind of balance we have left, and also does the same thing for revenues. In addition, this year, it was requested that I provide you with a graphic that kind of gives you a visual picture of where our major funds are at as far as revenue and expenditures. So you should have received this little pretty blue pie chart for Pi Day today. And it shows in your general fund what percentage of your year-to-date revenue. Right now we're at 79%. How much of our budget do we have left to collect? We're right at 21%. And I put these revenue on top of expenditures so you could kind of compare where we're at expense wise versus where we're at revenue wise. And so the 200 funds, the special revenue funds, these are our grant funds, everything from title to SIA to high school success, but also includes things like a donation account and our food service account. The capital projects fund, those is self-explanatory. It's going to include all of our bond money plus any additional expenditures that we kind of designated as a capital expense in last year's budget. So that little graph is there for you. If you find it helpful, I'm happy to do those for you each month. We've also made them available to members of the community so that they can kind of see that just quick glance. This is kind of where we're at. And so is there any questions about that? Okay, so moving on to a budget kind of review update where we're at. First thing, I want to kind of stifle the rumors going around. We are not cutting any positions. We are not cutting any programs. Our plan at this point is to continue all of the programs that we currently have and maintain all staffing that we currently have. And it at this point does not look like that is going to be an issue with improvements that we've made internally to becoming more fiscally responsible and just being very fiscally minded on how our money is being spent. We have been able to really put us in a position that next year, I think where we're at is, unless the governor comes out or the state comes out and just really destroys the state school fund budget, what's projected right now, I think we're going to be in a really good position. We'll still be able to maintain a reserve fund as well and still maintain all the programs that we have. But just want to throw it out there. Our budget that we're working on does not include cutting any positions, does not involve cutting any programs. In fact, there are a few additions to it to help support specific things like math and some CTE things. So also want to remind you that April 11th at 6 p.m. So right before the board meeting, the hour before, we have a budget committee work group. We will not be discussing the budget at this time. This is more, I'm going to tell you kind of how to read a budget with the actual budget committee here as well, the other members that are part of that budget committee. And so we'll kind of discuss your roles and responsibilities, how to read basic account numbers, kind of get the gist behind what the purpose of the budget committee is, and just kind of a sit-down training. The public is invited, but again, we will not be discussing the budget at that meeting, so there won't be any public comment for that meeting. And then our first budget committee meeting with public comment will be May 2nd from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And so the idea is that we'll have a good foundation to start on about a week before the budget committee meeting. We'll distribute and make available to the public the proposed budget document. And then we will start the May 2nd meeting with the budget message and begin going through and pointing out the highlights of the budget for next year. So any questions?
Everybody doing good?
Okay.
Heather, thank you so much. Appreciate you. All right, moving on to section 9, board and superintendent comments. I'm gonna start with you, Director Shannon.
I'll be very brief. I just want to thank everyone who showed up tonight to our meeting. I also want to thank Jillian, Holly, and Brittany for that wonderful presentation on the whatever we're calling SIA plus all the other stuff. And it's just, I just want to say it's really exciting to see everyone rowing in the same direction, focused on improving the academic achievement and growth of our students. And that wasn't the case for my first 2 years on this board. We talked about a lot of things that weren't that, and it's nice to see us focused like a laser on that goal. So thank you.
Director DeHart.
No comment.
Okay, Director Riley. Director Powell.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody else for coming as well and for the music. That was such, yeah, that was awesome. So I love that. Wish we could start every board meeting like that. That'd be great. And then I also wanted to say about the Parents' Bill of Rights, that I don't take the Parents' Bill of Rights as a negative. I'm a huge proponent of the partnership between our district parents and guardians, because that's a recipe for success. So having a piece of paper to amplify or remind people of their rights is a great idea, I think. So, and then something else I just wanted the public to be aware of is that the NEA, we're putting flyers in some of our teachers' mailboxes and telling them who to vote for and what they needed to do to get certain people elected. How is this nonpartisan? You know, this is wrong for them to be doing. The community needs to know how biased the union reps really are and what they are doing. It's just wrong. You know, it would be, how would they take it if it went the other way? That's not something that should be done. And so anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Director Kolb.
Yeah, a big shout out to Jennifer Duckworth, our HR specialist. I met with her to see the state of hiring, mostly for our teachers and administrative staff. And big shout out to not just Jennifer, but the whole team, Tony Buckner, Scott Linenberger, for the great job they did with recruiting, because I asked her, how many administrative staff openings do you have? None. And how many full-time licensed teacher staff openings do we have? 1. And that is especially, thank you to them, especially amazing when, according to Scholaro, which is a big college fundraising data firm, Oregon has the second largest teacher shortage in the country. And so this wonderful staff, and really it's everyone pitching in to make this a wonderful place that teachers want to come to now. And so shout out to everyone, and Scott, you and your team, great job. Thank you.
I'm probably not going to be quite so subtle tonight. My comments are going to be based on the fact that after almost 60 years living in this community, being raised in this community, raising 3 sons in this community, working at the high school for 20 years and coaching for decades. I know this community inside and out, lived here almost my entire life. I hear people come up here and talk about national agendas and all that stuff. It's just absolute BS. There is no national agenda, not even close, nothing like that at all. This board supports every kind of kid. We don't pick by color. We don't go brown, black, or white. We don't care if they're gay. We don't care if they're straight. We support every kind of kid, but that lie gets told out there all the time. You go back to the time when we voted on that no politics in our schools, that got flipped and turned to make it sound like that we were against those kids, and we never have been. And I'm tired of hearing about the lies in this community that come out, and especially in election season. All these people have tied themselves to a wagon that you can't get off of. They want to talk about the fact that they've came after me and Brian for 3.5 years. They came after my family, my house, my kids who don't even live in this town anymore. They've come after my friends. They've attacked everything. But it's never their fault. It's never a problem how they can act like that and do everything they talk about with bullying, lying, misdirection, and non-truths. That's happened to me for the last 3.5 years on this board. Yet I went down today and I signed up again to do this. We don't get any money for this. We don't get paid to do it. And yet I have people out here in this community who think that they are okay to treat other people like that. And they're not. They're not at all. This board has supported every student that we can come across every single time. When we hired this superintendent, we got the best superintendent we've had in a long time. We've got a superintendent that does care about every kid, doesn't have an agenda, comes into play, and he walks in and he hires a staff that's getting the job done when it wasn't getting done before. I've worked and lived in this community for a long time. People are getting behind all of the non-truth being spread across this community are wrong. They hurt our community. I'm going to finish with this. The people who go out there and lie and do misdirection and don't tell the truth. And I hope you're getting this on video right now. Go ahead. I'll tell you what's going on. There are wolves in sheep's clothing right now out there that are spreading lies. And if you've hitched your wagon to that, you've hitched your wagon to the wrong group. The people in Newburgh-Dundee deserve better. They deserve an open communication, and the parents deserve a school that's transparent. When this school district tried to be transparent, the union balked at it, filed grievances. Whenever this school district tries to do something positive, people come up here in front of that microphone and are negative. And all they can do is be negative because they don't have anywhere else to go with anything. They want to blame it all on somebody else. Instead of getting up here and coming up with solutions and sitting down and having honest conversations about something, it's always attack, attack, attack. There are good people on this board. Don't care if it's brown, black, or white. Don't care if they're gay or not gay. This board has been honest. There's no national agenda. It is straightforward. Our country has been divided by politics from East Coast to West Coast, North and South. And we're no different in this community. But people can't sit down anymore. They have to cancel. They have to walk by you. Some people in that room right there, you walk by me, you won't even talk to me. That's called canceling other people. Now, whether or not we elect people to this board, new people or however it's going to go, this board will change. But this community needs to get back to being Newburgh and Dundee. It needs to get back to being a community that cares about everybody. It needs to get back to being a community that doesn't shun people and put people down. We have people that have been in leadership in this district before that are out and they're part of this thing. And I'm tired of hearing that what I am told and I see and I'm talked to about that's not true. It's not true at all. If you want to run for the school board, run for the school board, but don't lie about it. And don't attach your wagon to people that do lie about it. If you want to run for this board and be on it for all the right reasons, not for a political agenda. We haven't had one political agenda talk the entire time I've been on the board. Not one. Now, normally I've been told I'm supposed to stay pretty calm because I'm board chair. Well, heck with that anymore. This whole thing back now where we sit back and we just take hit after hit after hit. People get to that microphone, they think they can just say whatever they want. That doesn't make it true. I'd like to play for the Portland Trailblazers and make $10 million a year. I can tell you that, but it doesn't make it true. I'm disappointed that this community can't get back to a level understanding of what it's like for our kids. Our parents deserve to know everything going on in our schools. And if they don't like it, it's their kids. It's not the union's kids. It's not the teachers' kids. And trust me, with all the good teachers we have in this district, they don't all agree with this union leadership at this current time. You know why? Because I talked to them. They come in and talk to me and tell me that, but they can't say anything. You say that in a public school, you will get ostracized. You won't get promoted. You won't get anything. And that's how it works in public education. And it needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. Even when we could hear in a board meeting with people in the audience. I watch you guys. I can tell who won't talk to each other. And everybody's wrong. We all just need to get back to being Newburgh Dundee. That's all I have to say. Our superintendent.
All right. I'll start with the Brittany, Holly, and Jillian. I guess I'll pig pile on top of them. They're awesome. They did a ton of work. I want to make one quick point about their work is big shoot for the moon goals. 90%. That's a big goal. It's 4 years to do it in, and we've got the right people here to do that. And our kids are smart. If we work hard, do it together, we can get there. So I'm really happy with them and the work they've done. Start times, end times. About a year ago, there was a group kind of started to kick around. Are we starting elementary the right time? Are we starting high school the right time and all that? We've done a lot of work on that. We've got some final vetting to do, but I do plan on announcing start times, end times for the new school year before spring break. So families will have a good approximately 6 months to get their family situation dialed in for the new start times, end times for next year. I wanted to talk briefly about the board taking action on the board goals. I really appreciate that. Those board goals have been things that we've been working on for quite a while. We've been moving, as I think we demonstrated tonight, we've been moving in that direction all year long. And I just really appreciate you guys actually approving them, making it official. That adds a level of accountability, which I appreciate. It's now on paper and it's official. I really appreciate that. I think the community needs to be more aware of the board goals. What I would recommend for the board is one of you sit down with me and Rose and do a video. Do a video that explains the board goals and gets it out there a little bit. So, Shelley? Great. So let's plan on that, Rose. And great. SROs. We have been working with the mayor, the city manager, the city council, this board, Chief Kosmicki. We've been talking about this, Chief Kosmicki and myself, we've been talking about this almost since I arrived 10 months ago about how can we get more help. I love an SRO in our buildings. I think they are, especially the one we have, I think he's amazing, but he's one guy and he can't be as proactive as I would like him to be because he's one guy. So if we get two, they can be more proactive and less reactive. And I think that's the key to anything that's going to be sustainable and good for the community. So how we're going to pay for that? We're partnering with the city. As I said, it's been a great kind of conversation with the mayor, the city manager, the city council. But we're partnering with the city on that. We are leveraging some SIA funds, as you saw in the presentation today. And we possibly are leveraging some ESSER funds that are federal funds as well. And then just through the partnership with the city, we're able to save some money to buy that down. So it's a multifaceted approach to get two SROs. Really proud of the work we've done with the city, and it'll be great for our kids. Last thing, the Parent Bill of Rights. We are hosting in 6 days on the 20th. We are hosting a Zoom meeting at 6 p.m. I think there's about 50 people that have signed up. It has the opportunity to be a real rodeo, and we're a little bit, to be honest, a little concerned. But I've been true to my word. Everybody who's emailed got an invitation. There's some of you out there right now. You got an invitation. You're invited. I'll be honest. We are going to open the meeting with some very strict guidelines. And if you stray out of those guidelines, if you're nasty to one another, if you're cursing, if you're not helping, we'll mute you and we might just kick you out. I'm not going to deal with that. So it's going to be a civil, productive meeting. We'll be in and out in about an hour. I'm excited about it. I think it has a lot of potential. I will be honest, there's been a couple people that have emailed me concerned with that we're calling it a parent bill of rights because some people in the committee aren't current parents. So why would we call it a parent meeting if they're not parents? I understand that. And there's some truth to that, but I also honor grandparents and I honor aunts and uncles and I honor just people in the community that care about kids. So maybe we shouldn't call it a parent bill of rights. Maybe we should call it something else because truly it isn't just for parents. That's maybe a little bit of semantics that I'm not so worried about. I do think we need to hold the line though. People that show up, you're a member of this community. You live within the school district. If you're from Idaho, even though I'm from Idaho, if you're from Idaho, you're not invited, right? And so, that kind of thing. So I'm excited about it. Maybe a little nervous, but I am excited about it. I think it's an opportunity to reach out and try to agree on some things that we need agreed on and move forward on. So that's what I got. Thank you.
And Dr. Phillips, just a clarification on that. That's just going to be on Zoom now. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Phillips. Next thing up is future agenda items. The 2023-2024 academic calendar approval will be on 4/11/23. The 2023-24 board calendar approval, 4/11/23. We'll see your change on there. The world language adoption and public comment will be on 4/11/23. Future board meeting. There's no work session in March because of spring break. I think a lot of people are happy about that. Regular work session on April 11th at 7 o'clock, and then a work session on April 25th, 2023, 7 o'clock. Meeting's adjourned.